find them right now.
Um,
So, I guess, welcome to Truth Be Told.
yeah,
We got Kelsey sitting across from me. We got Dwight sitting beside me. And my name is Max.
that's Max.
So, for all of those audio listeners, and welcome to the show. And we're going to get into it. Kelsey's got some stuff.
Happy to have everyone here. We're coming out of winter. Finally, it seems like.
Yep. Farmers are planting seeds.
Everybody feels good. Starting to get more sun. And sun.
Sun.
Yeah. S-U-N. I don't know. Lots happening in the world, and I think there's lots that goes on that tries to keep us
Busy.
Distracted, down. Lots that happens in our lives. And I continue to think of the scene, Peter keeping his eyes on Jesus in the middle of the water, middle of the lake, right?
Mm.
And everything's thrashing around him. And the second you look away, you really feel the other side.
Yeah. Mm.
So keeping your mind going in the right direction.
Right.
Keeping your mind.
Yeah, I have a thought that, well, it's sort of relates, I guess. I don't know if it fits with what you're thinking and feeling, but
Well, then let's hear it.
all right. So I was chatting with a friend this week, and he's like, because I was sharing with him that most people I know or that are relatively close to where we're at when I'm trying to sell or promote our product, I share it with them, tell them where we make it and that we make it ourselves, and they just don't believe me half the time. And
they're always people that I'm guilty of it. I was like, oh yeah, support my friend's business.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then what was it, like a year and a half in, I got to see the demo of this stuff, and I'm like, no, do it again. What did you do there? What did you do?
Yes. So, leading into that, and the good thing about my one friend Quentin, I will name him because he's just a great guy. We might.
Are you saying he's your one friend, or are you saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have very few. Anyway, so he was like, I was telling him this, and he's like, yeah, it's because you're not confident. And I was like, and then I'll just read what he told me. He's like, you're confident in the product, but humble in your presentation, so people don't take it seriously in some ways. And I'm like, I said, you're right. Honestly, sometimes I'm not confident in it because there's other people that are more confident than I am. Then we were chatting about that, going back and forth, and then some thoughts came to me that evening.
But to be clear, you're confident in the product.
Yes.
It's your delivery.
Correct. So, but then that affects how people see it around us.
Yeah.
So coming out of that, I'm like, okay, what is confidence then? The question that was hitting my mind. So I took down the technical definition.
Yeah.
But I wrote my own first, which is, it relates, but I was trying to tie it into just something that I felt God was laying on my heart. So being sure about something that is true and sharing it with others. I added the sharing it with others just because if I'm confident in something, I want to share it with others because it's something I'm sure about and I believe in it. And so then I added onto that, and it's just my own definition that I use. So being sure about something that is true and sharing it with others. If it is from God, it will be true. If it is from God, it has to line up with his character. So for my own self, I have to be like, okay, it's like a check and balance. If it's true, if Jesus said, I am the truth, the way, truth, and the life. And so if it's true, it's going to be lining up with him. And then the technical definition is the feeling or belief that one can rely on someone or something firm trust. So I was just thinking about that because who can I place who am I confident in? And so in a worldly stance, you could say I'm confident in the product. I want others to be confident in it. And generally they're more confident in it than I am because they use it more.
Yep.
But then I was like, if I'm confident in what I believe about Jesus and what he has done for me and what he has done in my life, I want to share that with others. And I want to live that out. And Lord willing, if I follow in that, that will reflect through my actions and my words, but then also learning how to present that in a way that is simple and definitive, and not like you're sitting on the fence.
Yeah.
So it just made me think of that when we were chatting, because he just straight up told me, because not a lot of people, will just tell you that, but
I mean,
they'll tell you that in a negative way, but he was more, in a brotherly way.
That's right.
That's
right. We're open for that criticism. So
that's my thought of the week.
You want to weigh in on that? Go ahead. Take the stage.
I was just thinking that the scripture was saying that it's better to put your confidence in the Lord than confidence in man, and we are men, so that confidence in ourselves. But
exactly,
and it talks about putting your trust in the Lord rather than in horses and rather than in princes and rather. So that part of confidence, but that real solidness that you can trust in.
Exactly.
And
it doesn't change.
No.
That's
it's
coming back to, I think, like this today, and probably in every age, but I feel it right now, especially. It's everybody's barking for your attention, and then they change the game on you half the time. So how do you put your confidence in that? You can't really. Yeah. Don't put your confidence in man. And I mean, yeah, I think especially ourselves. I think that starts with ourselves to some extent. You have to be self-confident, but it has to be based on something.
Yeah, and I mean, I've learned over the years to put my confidence in myself not first and foremost, but it's like I feel like we've talked about it, but it just keeps coming up. It's the airplane going down. You got to put your mask on first before you can help anybody else. So, I mean, if there's something going on, if we're not confident with ourselves, if we're battling with something internally, we got to take care of ourselves first and foremost, and get to know God closer.
And,
and
because
more thoroughly.
If you don't,
that's our air mask. That's our oxygen mask.
I think that's been on my heart since the beginning of the new year's. Literally, like, I have it in a book, and it's just, Dwight, you've spoken on this in the past, but the names of God and the character and, like, just getting to know God myself better, because if I know him better, I'm going to be able to share that in a more genuine way, hopefully better. Simplifying that, I have a very hard time with that.
Yeah. I think what a lot of people are struggling with right now is not knowing the direction we go in life, and we go every day, because there's a lot of noise out there. Yep. There's a lot of noise.
I think more noise than that there ever has been.
Yeah, we just went through a federal election, and now the noise for separation is like it has managed to drown that out. And I feel like there's nobody that's just taking a minute to just be there with themselves and God. Just check in,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm listening.
He's writing questions down
He's
for us
listening.
later.
He's listening. You're gonna have to subscribe.
Yeah.
No, I honestly, there's a lot of people trying to drown out the noise by making more noise, and no matter what stance it is, it's scaring people away. It's scaring people into their own bubble. It's making people not want to get out of it. You have to live your life this way. You have to do this. You have to do this. Where it's like,
yeah, I was chatting with some of the guys this past Monday. It's been a tough week for a lot of us, particularly a few, and like there's been several struggles. But coming through some of that, it's like when we were chatting, the evil one is really loud. 'Cause like some of the things that we were chatting about is like, why is it when we try to pray, when we try to rest, when we try to read and take a minute to spend time with God, it's like our mind is filled with so many things and it's very loud. But like that's what I experienced too. But when the evil one is lying to us, and when we went through struggles and we're trying to get past and out of or allow God to refine that out of us and move past that in a part of our life, and then we feel like we're on a good track, and then all of a sudden we slip back into that. How do we deal with that? Because that's essentially, I think we all go through phases of that, and getting on track isn't necessarily mean you're going to stay on track.
Yep.
But then the evil one starts to yell, and when you try to listen to what God is saying, he's yelling even louder.
Yeah,
louder in half truths.
Yeah. So we're living in a world where, like, even last night, it was like a hurricane in my head. Like, there's just so much going on. And when I go to a shoot, I feel like I'm planning 6 other shoots all at the same time, while I'm shooting one, and my mind's over here and over there. And last night, it was like a hurricane. And I was just trying to find peace within it, just to get some sleep. And you know, I went outside and I just prayed at night. I just sat out on the deck and I just took a minute. You know, Christian faith or meditation or whatever you want to call it is going to put the bookshelf that just got knocked over upright and start stacking the books back in line. Right?
I think 2 things, listening to you guys and that part of listening, right? And so often I get so busy talking, right? And
yeah, we gotta get you talking in the microphone though.
Yeah, that's, fair enough.
Sounds way better. I'm listening at real time.
Yeah. So often I get busy talking and thinking of that next, but when you stop and listen and to what the other, and 2 things that really stood out to me in this conversation. One is the need in Psalms. The writer writes, and he says, "Be still."
Yep.
But what's the end of that statement? Be still and know that I am God. Right? And there's a listening in that, like even going out and just being outside, wherever it is, and that stillness where we're listening to hear God. And that goes back to what you were saying a bit ago when you were talking about who God is. Yeah. How do we know who God is? And so he reveals himself to us through his word and through the names of God and the character of God, both. When you're starting to go through that, when you have Jehovah Shalom, and the Lord send peace. until you really stop and begin to dwell on that, that the Lord send peace. And, if we were in one of the cultures that use shalom as a word, and it's a word peace, but we think it means peace where you have peace, but it's tranquility all around you. It's freedom from war and so on. But that's not the word at all out of the Hebrew. The Hebrew word has the idea of wholeness, wellness, soundness. And so that can be what's outside, but you can be in the middle of the storm, as you guys are, with so much going on in your lives, and so many folks are today, whether it's in our land or whatever. But you can still have that soundness, that wholeness inside. But it really goes back, to that part of being still. Just that silence, that quiet, that resting before God.
Yep.
And then you begin to examine who he is and his character.
Pausing the world around you, turning the volume down.
Yeah. Well, one of our professors when I was in Bible college used to say, and again, I was mid-20s, so it didn't make a lot of sense to me at that point in time. He said, beware of the barrenness of a busy life. And, I was on the treadmill, and one of my favorite groups is Alabama. Favorite song is I'm in a Hurry. And, that would characterize a lot of my life. And thinking that in order to be really productive, I have to be busy. And this professor that I had, he stressed it over and over again. He said, beware of the barrenness of a busy life, just keeping busy. And
It's nice to see the world is changing in that way, where there are things being created, like when I was still working for someone versus myself, I was lucky enough to be given a results-only work environment. My direct report told me, he said, I don't care if you're on the moon. If you got everything done, that's it. Go home.
Yeah.
Right? Or if you can get it all done at home and effectively and be reachable, see ya. And it worked. And it was I did my job really well. So it is coming around. But there is still that mentality out there of you got to be busy to be actually doing work. And if you're not seen, you're not doing any work.
I wrestle with that because
I only see you once a week. You probably don't do anything.
Yeah, exactly. I don't. I just sit at home.
Yeah, I see you on your phone when I come see you here. And that's the extent of your work,
That's exactly
and
right.
Dwight, don't get me started.
Yeah.
but that's the world we live in, right? Yeah. If I don't see you doing something, you probably aren't doing anything.
No. Yeah.
Right? So if you're not posting on Instagram about your business and what it's doing, or even if you're not posting about yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So
exactly, and I deal with the opposite of that. So for example, in our business, marketing, I'm like, I was raised, it's like you got to be working, right? If you don't have something to do, find something to do. There's always something to do. That's essentially what I was, and I don't think there's a problem with understanding the value of
there's always something to do.
There's always something to do, and it's
but
always
you
going to be
don't
there.
always, it'll be there still. You don't always have to be doing it.
But there's certain things that don't feel like work to me.
Yeah.
But in our business are actually some of the most important things.
Preach.
You'll agree with me.
Yeah.
Because it relates to you.
Yeah.
But
no relation, though. We're not brothers. We are.
There's other parts of the business. I like a lot of parts of it, but when it's when you get tied up in certain areas where you're not as gifted, or it doesn't wake you up. It's not like I wake up to do this, then it gets old after a while.
Yeah.
But it has to be done. So
I had a guy in my office, or I shouldn't say the office, in our foyer today, and I meet with him about once a month, and he said to me, he's watched some of our messages on Facebook, and he said, how do you make it so simple? And I go, you spend time doing it, and that's what you guys are talking about. It's the stuff that's not seen. That
Well, yeah,
For instance,
the set.
what you're seeing, I mean, it's evolving every day because we're getting good at it,
Exactly.
right?
Yep. Well, there's stuff I do every day now. It's like, when we first started, I'm like, man, this is a pain. Now you refine it over time.
Yeah.
But that is,
It doesn't necessarily come with being so busy with it and hyper fixating on it. It takes mistakes, and it takes stopping
yeah.
and looking and listening and being like, okay, what can I fix here? And with everything in our life, I mean, truth be told,
Yeah.
You got to just pause, and you got to just not worry if someone doesn't see what you're doing.
Yeah.
Take it as far as helping someone.
Yeah.
You don't have to tell everybody you helped someone. I'm actually currently filming 7 seniors over 70 that have won awards for helping their community. Right. And they all come into this interview and they're like, I really don't want to do this. Like, I don't help people so I could be on this video, right? But we're like, maybe it inspires someone else to help.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's they're reluctant, but they do it. And what I'm trying to say is, just because people don't see you everywhere doesn't mean you're not busy, right? And you need to remember that. Yeah, I think we got to wrap this one up.
Yeah.
Now.
I want to add one last thing.
Add it.
And so basically, that was a thought, like spending time with God. One friend put it like this. He's like, for your work, he's like, yeah, I know you got lots to do, but start it with Jesus and spend that time, so that it's like it sets the tone for the day, but it also it sets your perspective, so that you're not just busy work. There's like purpose behind it, and he'll guide you through. He guides our way if we're willing to listen to him.
You betcha. So, truth be told, stay tuned or tune in next week or next day or next episode. We're going to actually get Dwight to talk.
His mic's been turned off.
Turn it back on. Thanks for watching, and can't wait to have you back.
Have a wonderful evening.
Or morning.
Afternoon.